Rain poured against the luxury home like a relentless drumbeat, turning the doorway into a stage of heartbreak. The woman stood there, soaked, clutching her newborn twin so close that her trembling arms ached. Warm, golden light from inside the mansion framed her silhouette, but none of that warmth reached her. In front of her, the man she once trusted stepped deeper into the rain, his suit darkening as the water hit him. His voice cut through the storm, sharp, furious, final. She didn't argue. Her lips didn't move. Her eyes said everything: confusion, fear, and a quiet strength she hadn't yet discovered. Drops slid down her face, some rain, some tears, as she tightened her grip on the babies. Behind the man, the life she built, the life she believed in, slipped away in one brutal command. In that single moment, a home became a battlefield, a marriage became a wound, and a mother was pushed into the night with nothing but 2 small heartbeats against her chest. What neither of them knew, not the man blinded by anger, nor the woman trembling on the doorstep, was that this cold night would ignite a transformation, a hidden path, a secret empire waiting to be born from pain, resilience, and an unexpected twist of fate. And the truth she would build in silence would one day be worth $200 million. Before we begin this emotional story, tell us in the comments from which city you are watching, and don't forget to leave your like to keep following us. The rain followed her all the way to the quiet street, tapping softly against the metal of the small suitcase rolling behind her. Claire didn't look back at the house. Every step felt like walking through a thick, invisible fog. Grief, shock, humiliation, all blending into a numb heaviness that clung to her more tightly than the drenched sweater sticking to her skin. The twins stirred in her arms, their tiny breaths warming the space just beneath her chin. She whispered nothing, only pressed her cheek lightly against their blankets, as if that brief touch could anchor her. A car passed slowly, its headlights sweeping across her face. She lowered her gaze, not wanting any stranger to witness the raw, trembling silence she carried. The babies shifted again, and Claire paused under a dim street lamp, adjusting her grip carefully, afraid of waking them. Her fingers were stiff from the cold, knuckles pale, but she kept moving. One small step, then another. Across the street, a bus stop shelter glowed faintly, its plexiglass walls fogged from the humidity. She reached it and slipped inside, leaning the suitcase against the bench. The shelter muffled the storm, offering a fragile illusion of safety. Her legs shook from exhaustion as she finally sat down, cradling the twins close. For a long moment she stared ahead, seeing nothing but blurred lights and the reflection of a woman she barely recognized. Claire swallowed hard, forcing her breath to steady. A mother, a wife, or at least she had been one a few hours earlier. Her mind kept replaying Robert's voice, sharp, cold, final. She tried to push the sound away, but it echoed inside the shelter like a wound with no place to hide. A distant siren wailed through the night, fading into the city's hum. Somewhere behind her, a door slammed, or maybe thunder rolled. She couldn't tell anymore. Her body sagged slightly, the fatigue settling deeper into her bones. Still, she touched the babies' foreheads with gentle fingertips, absorbing the softness that reminded her she wasn't allowed to fall apart. A bus approached, its headlights cutting through the rain, slowing as it neared the shelter. Claire lifted her eyes, unsure whether she should stand, whether she had the strength, whether she had anywhere left to go. The bus hissed as it stopped, its doors opening with a tired groan. She hesitated, heart pounding, as a figure inside leaned forward, looking directly at her. Someone was watching her, waiting, and that was the moment she felt the night shift. The figure on the bus wasn't a stranger, not entirely. The man stepped down slowly, shielding himself from the rain with his forearm as he scanned her face. Claire's breath caught when she recognized him. Noah Ramirez. They had attended the same community college years ago, sharing a few literature classes and the same worn-out corner table in the campus library. He'd been quiet, thoughtful, always scribbling something in a notebook. She hadn't seen him in almost 6 years. Now he stood in front of her, older, sharper around the edges, but with the same steady eyes she remembered. "Claire?" he asked, voice low, careful, as though saying her name too loudly might shatter what little she was holding together. His gaze drifted to the twins, then back to her, and something softened in his expression. She looked down, instinctively brushing a raindrop from one baby's forehead. "Hey, Noah," she murmured, her voice thin. "I didn't expect anyone to be out this late." He stepped closer but stopped a respectful distance away, hands tucked into the pockets of a worn jacket. The bus pulled away behind him, its engine fading into the storm. They were alone beneath the humming street lamp. "You need a ride?" he asked. "Or somewhere warm? You look freezing." The kindness in his tone almost undid her. Claire shook her head quickly, swallowing the tightness rising in her throat. "I'm fine. Just figuring things out." A moment of silence stretched between them. Noah didn't push. He glanced at her suitcase, at the thin sweater clinging to her arms, at the babies curled against her chest. Something in his jaw tensed, but he kept his voice steady. "Claire, you shouldn't be out here with newborns. Let me help. You don't have to tell me anything." She hesitated. The night felt heavier, not from the rain, but from the fear of trusting anyone again. Still, the twins stirred, one letting out a small whimper, and Claire's resolve shook. Noah exhaled slowly. "There's a community center a few blocks away. Warm, safe. I volunteer there on weekends. We can go together. Just for tonight." Claire looked at him, really looked at him, searching for any sign of pity, judgment, or hidden intent. All she found was sincerity, quiet and steady. A crack of thunder rolled across the sky. Claire tightened her hold on the babies and gave a small, weary nod. Noah extended his hand toward the suitcase. She let him take it, and the night shifted once more. The walk to the community center was slow, the rain easing into a thin mist that clung to their clothes. Noah kept a step ahead, pulling the suitcase gently behind him, glancing back now and then to make sure Claire was still with him. She moved carefully, her arms aching from holding the twins so long, but she refused to let them go. Their warmth was the last piece of certainty she had. When they reached the brick building, its windows glowed with soft yellow light. A hand-painted sign near the entrance read, "Harbor Street Community Center." Letters slightly chipped but welcoming in a way she hadn't felt in hours. Noah opened the door for her, letting a wave of warm air spill into the damp night. Inside, the center buzzed quietly, the hum of a vending machine, the faint clatter of someone washing dishes in a back room, the murmur of two volunteers folding blankets. It wasn't fancy, but it radiated a lived-in kindness. Claire's shoulders loosened a fraction. Noah guided her toward a small lounge area with old but comfortable couches. "Sit," he said gently. "I'll grab towels." She eased onto the couch, carefully adjusting the twins on her lap. Their tiny chests rose and fell in soft, steady rhythms, oblivious to the chaos of the night. Claire leaned her head back, letting her eyes close for a moment. Her wet hair clung to the cushions, and for the first time since leaving the house, the cold began to fade. Noah returned with 2 towels and a warm blanket. He handed her the softest one. "They keep these for the kids' program," he explained. "Figured the little ones deserve the best." Claire wrapped the twins gently, then the blanket around her own shoulders. A sound slipped out of her, half laugh, half sigh, unexpected and fragile. "Thank you," she whispered. Noah sat across from her, elbows resting on his knees. He didn't pry, didn't ask the obvious question hanging in the air. Instead, he watched her with quiet patience, letting her decide when to let words come. After a long pause, Claire spoke. "I didn't think anyone would see me tonight." Her voice wavered, but she kept going. "Or care." Noah looked at her, steady and unflinching. "You're not invisible, Claire, and you're not alone tonight." Her fingers tightened around the edges of the blanket. Tears didn't fall, but her eyes shimmered with a truth she hadn't allowed herself to feel in years. As another volunteer passed by, placing a tray of hot tea on a nearby table, Claire felt something shift, small, almost imperceptible, but real. A beginning, or at least the hint of one. The steam from the tea curled softly into the air, carrying a faint scent of chamomile. Claire wrapped her hands around the cup, letting the warmth bleed slowly into her stiff fingers. The twins slept quietly beside her on the couch, bundled in the blanket Noah had brought. A tired calm settled over the room, broken only by the muffled sounds of late-night volunteers finishing their shifts. Noah sat nearby, leaning back in an old armchair, watching her with the same patient steadiness he'd shown since the bus stop. He didn't rush her, didn't fill the silence with platitudes. The quiet between them felt strangely safe. Claire stared at the tea, blinking slowly. "It wasn't always like this," she murmured, her voice barely above a breath. Noah looked up but didn't interrupt. She hesitated, searching for a place to begin. "When I met Robert, he was kind. Or maybe I just wanted to believe he was. He worked long hours, but he'd come home with stories, plans, dreams." She let out a brittle laugh. "He loved to talk about success, about building something big, a rich family, a legacy." Her thumb traced the edge of the cup. "But after I got pregnant, everything changed. The pressure, the expectations. He kept pushing, kept calculating. The babies became a responsibility, not a joy." She paused, swallowing. "And I became a burden." Noah's brow tightened, just slightly. Not anger at her, anger for her. Claire continued, her eyes fixed on the sleeping twins. "Tonight he accused me of trapping him, said the timing was wrong, that the house, the business, his investors couldn't handle the distraction." Her voice fractured. "He told me I was ruining his life." She pressed her lips together, fighting the tremor rising in her chest. Noah leaned forward slowly, elbows on his knees. "Claire, none of this is your fault." She didn't respond. Instead, she rubbed a small circle on one baby's back, grounding herself in the rhythm of their breath. After a long silence, Noah exhaled. "Look, the center has a private room. Nothing fancy, but warm, safe. Stay tonight. Tomorrow we'll figure it out." "We," she repeated softly, as if the word wasn't meant for her anymore. He nodded once. "Yeah, you don't have to do tonight or tomorrow alone." The simplicity of it made her throat tighten. A choice hung in the air, fragile and terrifying. Claire looked at her children, then at Noah, then at the dim, quiet room around her. And for the first time since stepping into the storm, she let herself breathe. Morning light crept softly through the narrow window of the small private room Noah had arranged for her. The rain had finally stopped, leaving a pale gray sky that made everything feel suspended, quiet, uncertain, fragile. Claire woke slowly, realizing the twins were still asleep in the portable crib the volunteers had brought in. Their tiny bodies rose and fell in peaceful rhythm. For a moment, she simply watched them, absorbing the miracle that they were safe, warm. Then, reality returned like a cold tide. Her life was gone. Her home, her marriage, her stability. All of it vanished in a single storm-soaked night. A gentle knock on the door made her straighten. Noah peeked inside, still in the same jacket from the night before, hair slightly out of place. He held a paper cup of coffee and a small bag of something warm. "Didn't want to wake you," he said softly, "but I figured you probably didn't eat yesterday." Claire managed a small smile as he handed her the bag. Inside was a fresh bagel, still warm. She tore off a piece, the simple comfort of it making her shoulders loosen. "Thank you," she murmured. Noah sat on the edge of a folding chair, watching her carefully. "The director of the center, Marcia, comes in at 9. She's good people. She'll help us figure out next steps." "We," she repeated again, but this time it didn't sound unfamiliar. "Noah, you don't have to do all this." He shrugged lightly, eyes dropping for a moment. "I know what it feels like to lose everything overnight." His voice grew quieter. "Years ago, after college, I hit bottom. My dad got sick, bills piled up, I lost my job. This place," he gestured around them, "they helped me get back on my feet. So now I help when I can." Claire studied him, seeing layers she hadn't noticed before. A hidden pain, a quiet resilience, a life rebuilt from ashes. "That's why you volunteer here," she said gently. "That's why I'm here at all," he replied. The twins stirred, letting out soft, breathy sounds. Claire stood, adjusting their blankets, humming under her breath. Noah watched her with a thoughtful expression, something unspoken forming behind his eyes. When she turned back to him, he hesitated before saying, "There's something else I need to ask you. Something important." His voice held weight, something that made the air shift. But before he could continue, a shadow appeared in the doorway. Marcia, the center's director, stepped into the doorway with a clipboard tucked under her arm and reading glasses perched low on her nose. Her grey curls framed a face lined with years of listening, really listening, to people at their lowest. She paused when she saw Claire and the twins, her expression softening instantly. "Noah," she said gently, "are you going to introduce me?" Noah stood, clearing his throat. "Marcia, this is Claire. She needs a little help." Marcia approached slowly, as though not to startle a wounded animal. She set the clipboard aside and knelt beside the crib, glancing at the twins with a tenderness that tightened Claire's chest. "They're beautiful," Marcia whispered. "How old?" 3 weeks, Claire murmured, brushing a finger over a tiny cheek. Marcia rose and looked directly into Claire's eyes. "You and the babies can stay as long as you need. We'll figure out food, essentials, paperwork. You're safe here." The words hit Claire like a sudden warmth. Safe. She hadn't realized how desperately she needed to hear it. Noah exhaled, relief flickering across his face. "Marcia's the one who kept me alive when I thought I'd hit the end," he said quietly. Marcia gave him a look that carried equal parts affection and authority. "You hit a rough patch. Now you help others through theirs. That's how community works." Claire felt her throat tighten, but before she could respond, Marcia stepped closer. "I do need to ask some basic questions, sweetheart. Not to pry, just to understand what support you need." Claire nodded, though her stomach twisted. "Okay," Marcia spoke gently. "Do you have anywhere else to go? Family? Friends?" Claire shook her head slowly. "My parents passed years ago. I have a cousin in Florida, but we haven't spoken in ages." Marcia hesitated. "And the baby's father?" A cold, heavy silence settled across the room. Noah shifted, ready to intervene, but Claire lifted a hand slightly. She could handle this part. "He told us to leave," she said quietly. "Last night." Marcia's expression hardened with a mix of sadness and fury. "Then he's lost something he'll regret for the rest of his life." Noah glanced at Claire, the unspoken question returning to his eyes, the one he hadn't gotten the chance to ask. Before he could speak, Marcia stepped toward the crib again. "Claire, there is one more thing you should know. Someone came by the center early this morning asking if a woman with newborns had shown up." Claire froze. "Who?" she whispered. Marcia's jaw tightened. "A wealthy man. Angry. Determined." Claire felt the room tilt, the air thinning as Marcia's words settled between them. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the crib, steadying herself. For a moment she heard nothing. No hum from the hallway, no distant chatter from the volunteers, just the muffled pounding of her own pulse. Noah stepped closer, his voice low. "Did he say his name?" Marcia nodded slowly. "Robert Whitford." Hearing it aloud sent a cold wave rushing through Claire's spine. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to breathe. What did he want?" Marcia crossed her arms, her face a mask of controlled frustration. "He demanded to know if a woman with twins had come through here. Said he needed to correct a misunderstanding." Her voice sharpened. "He wasn't gentle, and he wasn't patient." Claire's breath shuddered. She could picture him, wetsuit, jaw clenched, anger radiating off him like heat. The man who pushed her into the storm now stormed after her. Noah moved instinctively, placing himself between Claire and the door. "He's not getting near her or the kids," he said, quiet but unshakable. Marcia nodded. "I told him nothing. And if he comes back, he won't get past the front desk." She softened slightly. "But Claire, you need to decide what you want to do next. Not out of fear, out of strength." Claire sank onto the edge of the bed, her hands trembling. "I don't even know where to start." Noah crouched beside her, his voice steady. "Then start with something small. One step, one plan. What do you want for you and your kids? Not for him, not for anyone else." She looked at the twins, 2 tiny, perfect reasons to rebuild. Something inside her shifted, not loudly, but firmly. "I want a life where no one can decide my worth again," she whispered. "I want freedom, stability, a future that doesn't depend on his mood." Noah's eyes warmed. "Then we'll build it, piece by piece." Claire blinked at the "we" no longer startled by it. It felt earned now, real. Marcia stepped forward, placing a gentle hand on Claire's shoulder. There are programs we can connect you with: legal aid, housing support, financial planning, and Noah mentioned you studied business before. Claire nodded slowly. Marketing and digital design. Marcia smiled. Then, sweetheart, you have more power than you think. Claire exhaled shakily, the weight inside her shifting, not disappearing, but transforming. Outside the window, the clouds began to break, letting in a thin beam of pale morning light. Inside, for the first time since the storm, she felt the possibility of a future opening, quiet, steady, and hers to claim. Months later, Claire stood in the small office she had built from scratch, the twins asleep in their crib beside her desk. Soft evening light spilled through the window, warming the quiet room that once seemed impossible to imagine. What began as a desperate night at a bus stop in New York had grown into a digital design business that now supported other single mothers searching for stability, just as she once had. On the wall hung a single framed item, the tiny blue blanket from the night she was forced out of her home, not as a reminder of pain, but of the moment she chose to rise. Noah entered carrying 2 coffees, offering her a soft smile. The silence between them felt safe now, steady, a partnership built on kindness, not rescue. Claire looked at her sleeping children, her business, her new life, and breathed deeply. She hadn't just survived the storm. She had transformed it into a future of dignity, purpose, and hope. Some stories begin in the rain. Hers began the moment she stepped out of it. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this heart-touching story. Tell us in the comments which moment touched you the most. Subscribe and turn on the bell to receive more stories that inspire and transform. Leave a like if you believe in the invisible strength of kindness, dignity, and family. And thank you for being part of this community that believes in stories with soul.